Hello, from the Kansas Library, the Alpine Branch, and thank you and welcome for coming and joining us for this streaming program. Today we have Mike Zamarin from our home repair services, and we are looking forward to having some refreshing spring tips from him. Let me bring him in here. Hello, Mike.
Hi.
Welcome to Kent District Library. We're looking forward to your program on our spring tips today for home repair.
All right.
Yeah.
There are many, many of them, and we know we can't cover all of them in the time we have, but we will do a good job at it.
Okay, great. I'll let you have it.
Okay, so welcome. And Home Repair Services is very thankful to be partnered with the Kent District Library and be able to bring home maintenance type tips and advice and some show hows and things. We've done several videos with Kent District Library on different topics, which you could probably go look in their archives and see what those are. Maybe touch base on a little bit on each of those tonight, but I want to be able to talk about, hey, we all had the think spring thoughts and wish spring was here, and guess what? It's here now. So we can get outside and do some of those things that we've been thinking about. So this is just going to be a little bit of guidance towards those things. I want to talk a little bit about, we need to make sure our gutters are clean. We need to make sure that we do some caulking. We need concrete patching. And one big thing is make sure that we have some of the tools we need and how to keep those tools together, some air sealing in our ductwork. So I'm going to try to cover as much as I can. And I just want to let you know that Home Repair Services is a nonprofit organization that's been here in Grand Rapids for 41 years and serving all of Kent County. This room that I'm in right now is what we call our Fix-A School, and before COVID, and we will pick it up again later when we're all able to have a little more comfort, because as the COVID dissipates away and we all get all of our vaccinations, or we have that comfort zone. But this is a large classroom setting basically, and it's all hands-on classes that we put here every Saturday at 10 o'clock. It's in a free class. You can just walk in, sign in, sit down, and whatever the topic is for the day, you're going to learn some good 2 hours worth of tips and tricks, just like we're going to do here. So with that said, one of the first things that I think a lot of people think about in the spring when it comes around is, all right, now we're going to get rain. So we've got those gutters up there on the roof. Well, I think it's always a good idea to clean those after the leaves have fallen. So, to make sure that there's no debris up in there, so you don't get as much of the ice buildup in the gutters. And then the other thing is having the gutters, you want them to be able to drain, because if you don't clean them in the fall, and then the downspout gets plugged up because of the debris that's in there, these things freeze, and that's when things start coming apart. So it takes a little while, but they will. So one of the things is that having a little scoop like this, so they're quite awesome. So you can just go up there in that gutter, and if you're comfortable with a ladder, you're stepping on a step ladder for one-story house or extension ladder or whatever. But if you're comfortable with that, this is an awesome little thing. This one's called Gutter Getter, but they make several different companies make them. But you would just put this in here and scoop the stuff out and toss it down. One of the things that happens when eaves trough do get water in them and they freeze, so when water freezes, it expands. And if you've ever noticed, looking up at some eaves trough, I'm going to turn this sideways here so you can see this a little bit better. But have you ever noticed that sometimes the nail head right here is actually sticking out a little bit? Well, that's because this had water in it and it froze. And then the expanding, the only place it can go is outward. So what it does is this expands out, and that pulls that nail out of the wood fascia board that's behind it. So these nails need to be reset. A lot of times if you drive this nail right back in that same hole, it's just going to work its way right back out again, because this nail on this end, well, the full length of it has like little ribs. So when it goes in, it grabs. So when it gets forced out and it's grabbed into that wood, as that nail pulls out of that wood, the hole that it was in then kind of gets torn on its edges. So if you drive that nail back in there, it's not going to be as tight as it was. So what you would do is back that nail out, take it out of there, and I'll turn this way. So there's the hole where it was. But if you take it out of there and move it over and then just re-drive it in, okay? That's one way to do it. Be a good swing with a hammer, right? Make sure you hit the nail and not the eaves trough. So, and then I'll show you another one, another thing, which to me, this is so much easier and so much more user-friendly. And as long as you can hold the cordless drill and feel comfortable again on a ladder, then this is a good thing to use. So this is called a hidden hanger. So it clips over the front right here. So it would clip over the front and come down over the back right here. And then you would drive that screw in. So that's a hex drive screw. So a cordless drill, and just zip it right in. The one thing I like about this particular, my preference anyways, this particular brand, is that the arch in this, because now that screw is kind of not just going straight in, but it's going on a downward angle. So I'm going to snap this in here, if you can see it. So I'm just going to hook it in the front and then bring it down over the back. Here, snap in there. Now, if you look at that, you can see that, turn it around, you can see that the crown in this now creates that screw on that downward angle that I was talking about. Really, really nice. So these hangers should be 2 feet apart, minimum. If, let's say you have a spot and you think, well, that's kind of weak, these can go in anywhere. So you can even put them a foot apart, 6 inches apart, or whatever you want. If you just feel like, well, maybe 2 of them would be better, go ahead and do it. And you can pick these up most anywhere. And yeah, just climb up the ladder and put them in. It's better to address these things. Well, we have the weather, you see it, just put it on your list, on your maintenance list of that's one thing I need to do, and take care of that, because eventually, we know that every little thing, every little problem just gets bigger if we don't address it. So, once that eaves trough starts falling away, now you're going to have to hire a professional to do it. So, and also you can pick up these different companies, different manufacturers. So this is that gutter screen. Okay. Every one of them will say there's pros and cons about them, but this is something that you can do. And if I turn this around, it goes into that front edge right there and lays down over the back. And then you just put 3 screws in this length. So this length would be 3 feet long. What you get, one of the box of these, or however many you want to buy, and they're 3 feet long, and you put a screw at each end and one in the middle. That's why professionals would install the same product. So if you're, again, comfortable on a ladder, then that would be good. All right. So one of the things we need to take care of is to make sure that our dryer vents are cleaned out. Maybe we haven't been able to get to those over the winter, but we want to make sure that these dryer vents are cleaned out. If you have this one, the ones that are like this with the flappers, when you walk by this around your house, you can see it if the flappers are stuck open a little bit. Just keep in mind, if that flapper is stuck open, then airflow can go through there, and for one thing, you have lint in there, and that's what's holding it open. But airflow, cool air can go in there, but then also so can ants and crickets, or even chipmunks. Yes, even chipmunks go in there. There's been many stories. So make sure that you clean that out. One of the things about, again, these you can see, but the one that has that hood over it and with a round flapper inside, you can't see those, unless you get underneath them and look up. So what you can do with those is, one of the things we do is home maintenance checkups, and we do those again when COVID picks up, and that's just like an inspection, walking around the house with the homeowner, identifying things. But what I do is I show them I take a small flat screwdriver I have with me, and I just stick it up in there, and I can feel if there's any stuff up in there, and if I feel lint, then you just kind of scrape it out from up underneath there, and that works pretty good. The thing is with these, you want to make sure you keep them clean, because when the lint is coming out here and it starts building up on this in here, what it does is it's catching. It just keeps building up more and more and more. So it'll go farther back up in there. But what happens is the hole, because there's so much lint, this hole actually gets smaller. So the dryers needs this 4-inch pipe to blow air through it, and it can't. So what happens is some of the lint ends up staying on the other end in the dryer, and that is one of the reasons why you could have a potential dryer fire, is if the lint is building up on the other end by the heating element or the flame from the gas dryer. You don't want that. So keep it free and clean out here. And also this type, they actually do, these are vinyl, so you can actually flex them. I put my thumb in the middle and push down on both sides, and I can actually take those pieces right out of there like that. So you can just open it right up, and then you can just, reach and get everything out of there, and then just put these back. Again, all I'm doing is just flexing it. So just like that. There, you can do that. And then also some foil tape, and I'll explain a little bit more about that in a minute. If we have a concrete driveway, concrete steps, concrete porch, any place with the sidewalk, any place where we have concrete. So everything expands and contracts. So if you see a crack in your concrete, it's quite typical, because everything moves, everything expands and contracts with warm and cold, and the earth moves, right? So if you get a crack and it starts to open up at all, well, then that's one that you want to make sure you address that crack, especially all of them, but especially the ones that are open to the elements, and rain can get in there. And then in the fall, more rain, then it starts getting cold, and now water's seeping down in there, and then the ground freezes. Well, it's wet in there, there's water in that crack, and that's why they pop. So if the surface is popping, it's because moisture got in that crack. The crack's just going to get bigger, more of the surface is going to pop off unless you seal it. So there are different kinds of caulking. Actually, they have caulking that's in a tube. I don't have one of those here right now, but it's just a tube like this, and it's actually for caulking into cement crack, or into cement. And then they have a product like this that's a pre-mixed concrete patch, so you can use that as well. So one of the things about a crack is you don't want to lay the material on the surface. You want to make sure that it goes down into the crack. So what I would suggest doing, if you got some jagged edges and stuff, just take I would use something like a real good flat screwdriver, or this is just a steel scratch awl with a nice point on it. So I would take that and put it right down into a cold chisel is another thing, right down into that crack, and just drag it through there, just clean it out, because you want to make sure that the material goes down into it, because if it just lays on the surface, it's going to crack again. If it goes down into it, then it can grab a hold of the sidewalls of that concrete and stay down in there a lot better. So, and if you have a wider crack, I'll show you this stuff. So this stuff has several names. The package here says Caulk Saver Rod. Okay, it's called backer rod. It's called different things. But if you have a wide gap, let's just say you have a gap as wide as your thumb or your index finger or whatever. So that's a lot of caulking, to try to fill all that up. And when you're caulking down, it's a crack in the sidewalk, you're caulking down, well, that caulking just keeps going down in there, and it's like you go 1 foot and use a whole tube, right? So instead, get some of this rod, and all it is it's just foam. I'll find the end of it here, and so it's just a foam type stuff here, just not a styrofoam, but a foam bead, right? And it squeezes down. So what you do is you take a length of this and you push it right down into the crack. So I don't know if you can see this picture or not, But you take some of a length of this and you push it right down into the crack and get it so it's below the surface. And then you can, if you can see this on above it now, that's where the caulking was applied. So then you're, shove it down in there at, 3/8 of an inch, ½ inch, and then now you're caulking the surface, and you get a nicer job. You don't have to use as much material because you don't have to fill that whole void down through there if you don't want to. You're more than welcome to, but you don't have to. So a backer rod or a caulking saver rod and some concrete patch. So another thing, I'm going inside and outside here. Another thing in our home that we, I think it's a all year round thing, but it's our ductwork in our basement or under our home. And our ductwork is all fit together. And, even some of the newer homes that it's got a good fit and they sealed them up good and everything. But some of the older homes, maybe not so much. Mine's 100 plus years, and there are many old homes. So the ductwork in the basement, how old is this ductwork and how well is it fit together anymore and all of that. So they make this tape. So it's like aluminum foil. It's just a roll of tape that's like aluminum foil, and it's sticky on the back side. So you pull a piece off. I'm going to pull a long piece off here. And obviously you can see 2 pieces of pipe here. So let's just kind of visualize that that's open. We got a seam right there. The thing is do we want that air to go out, escape out into the basement? Is the basement warm enough in the wintertime where it doesn't need it? Does the upstairs need more? And if we wish we could get more upstairs, well, then you definitely want to tape those. And now, it was not right now, but soon we'll be running air conditioners. So you got the cold air traveling through there. The basement's typically cool anyways. So, maybe you just want to have more cool air upstairs. Been into many homes, talking to many homeowners, and, ideally it's, there's a good balance between the furnace and the size of the house and the size of the ductworks and how far they travel and all of that. But if you're having issues where, that bedroom at the end of the house is cold in the wintertime, or it's, why is it so hot in the summertime when I have the air on and it's good on the other side of the house? Well, think about this tape for one. And really, you just open it up, peel that back, and it's sticky, right? And then you would just put it against a seam where there's a seam, lay it around there, and then just go around with it. Peel the paper off. And I made it the whole way, right? And then it's sticky, so then just rub it. And what that do, all that air is gonna flow through. All right. Another thing is that everyone is not aware of is that inside most ductwork, most of these pipes, right? Inside of here is actually a damper, and you can open and close that damper. So there you can see the damper inside this pipe. Usually there's on the top of the furnace, there's the big, the metal box that's called the plenum, and all your round pipes come off from that. Usually right off from that, just not very far, you'll see these little handles, right? These little handles that right here, they move, they turn. And so when I have this going up and down, so it's going across the pipe it's actually closed off. Some air can still get around it, but it's not a perfectly tight fit, but it can slow that flow down. So going back to what I was saying earlier about that cold or that hot room in the other end of the house or upstairs or wherever, it's very possible that one of these dampers could be closed that go to that room. So that's just another thing to think about. So if this handle is going in the direction with the pipe, it's open. If it's going across the pipe, it's closed. So you can just see that move. So maybe the very first room that it goes to is the bathroom, which is a small room, and this is wide open. Well, maybe close this one down a little bit that goes to the bathroom. So just one more thing that you can do to, be a little bit more efficient and put the heat and the cold air from your air conditioner into the house. I wanted to talk a little bit, but we don't have a prop to hold up and show about this. And about around the outside of our house. So the outside of our house, no matter how old it is, through time, well, no matter how old it is, at one time when it was built, it was backfilled. That means they pushed the soil back up around the foundation. So over time, that soil was sloped. It was sloped around the house, and it should always be sloped around the house. So I'm going to do a real quick little sketch here. So if this is the house, you can see my drawing. My granddaughter would be proud of me. And then so the soil around the house should always slope away, right? If you walk around your house and it's kind of flat, but then in some places it's kind of lower at the house, all water that runs off that roof right there is going to land in that spot. See, that soil is just packing from the water running off the roof. But all that water that runs down off that roof and lands right there is going to be just like the water going down the Grand River. It's going to take the path of least resistance. So it's going to come down here and it's going to sit and puddle, but it's going to follow the foundation wall down because the water cannot run away out into the yard. So walk around the house and look at that, the grade slope. So it always wants to be higher next to the house. And this is a good time also, going back to that caulking thing, is using the cement caulking. That is if you have some cracks in your foundation or a little separation, you want to address those too while the weather's nice, instead of in the wintertime having cold air filtrating through there. So with that said, there's different kinds of caulking, and I can't talk about all of them. What I want, I guess my message is to just know what you're caulking. So, and then when you go to buy your caulking, tell them what you're caulking, and you're going to get the right product. There's silicone caulks, there's siliconized caulks, there's painter's caulks, painter's caulks with latex. There's so many different ones. Urethane. Just let where you're going shopping, let them know what you're going to use it for. Now, my personal experience, I'm going to add this, is that when I go and look at caulking, I greatly appreciate the input. But since myself, actually, I've been with Home Repair Services for almost 13 years now, but before that I was a contractor for 20. So I've used a lot of caulking. And my thing is, when I look at a tube of caulking, I just look at the label, and if somewhere on there it says that it has like superior bonding, excellent bonding, superior adhesion, flexible, when they say that on the label, well, then that's the one I lean to. Because if I was coming to your house to caulk something for you, I don't want to use a cheap caulk that then in a year or 2 years from now you're going to need it redone again. I want to use a caulk that you're just going to do one time. So that was kind of how I looked at it. So just, look at the label too. Hear what they have to say, but look at the label, because there are different brands. Okay. So you would use a cement caulking. You can use a cement caulking, or you can mix up some mortar and go around and fix those cracks or mortar joints in your foundation. The steps and railing, maybe over the winter, the handrails, maybe they got loosened up or whatever around your porch or down your steps, or the steps, the treads themselves, the part you step on, especially if it's loose, make sure you fasten that down, because that becomes a slipping point, right? Someone could take a fall. Cover the dryer vents already. And then also now like I said, inside and out, going back to the basement, is one thing that's a maintenance thing you should do a couple times a year, at least once a year, is go to your hot water heater, and on the bottom of the hot water heater, there's a valve. Okay. You can open that valve and let maybe half a gallon of water come out is all you would need to do. Because when the hot water heater, when we've all had a tea kettle before and have seen the buildup of the scale and stuff on the inside of the tea kettle from the water boiling in there, and the same type of thing happens in the hot water heater, and so it's sediment, and also the sediment is heavier than the water, because it's in there. So any minerals or anything that's in there is all going to settle down to the bottom of the hot water heater. So if you have imagine it's settling down to the bottom and it just sits there. But if you open that valve and let like a half gallon come out, then you're basically just flushing the bottom out. You're just getting rid of that stuff. And just think about it, because what it does is it, just like in the tea kettle with water boiling, it crystallizes and then it gets more. And so it gets thicker and thicker and thicker. But on the bottom here, if you have a gas hot water heater, there's a flame underneath here that's heating through to get your water hot. But now you've got this stuff getting thicker and thicker. And so, I mean, it can come to a point where this flame won't even, or you'll just end up with warm water, but that takes a long time for that to happen. If you haven't done it ever in your house and the hot water heaters, several years old, I would say you got to be cautious in opening that up, only because there's only seen one case, and so that where it opened up, but then it wouldn't close all the way because there was so much sediment in there. So just if when you open it, it's just a little bit. You don't just like turning a faucet. You just open it just a little bit. And what I would do is I would open it and close it a little bit, right? And then a little bit more and close it, a little bit more and close it. So you're just not taking that chance of not being able to close it. So, because it's just going to push anything out of the way. One of the things that I think that is important for our home is to have some kind of a home maintenance. So you saw me looking down here. So I just highlighted a couple of things because there's not enough time to cover everything. So I just wanted to refer to that. But this is like a home maintenance guide, and everyone should have some kind of a home maintenance schedule. Sadly, if you go on and do a internet search, you'll find that there are for like a home maintenance plan or a guide, there are like 380 million different plans and guides out there. And how do you figure out which one is best for you that fits your house? So that there's like 370 some million people live in the United States, and there are more plans than there are people. So I thought that was interesting. So the thing is to have something, have a starting point. And if you have to, start with a spiral notebook. I was just talking with a homeowner today, and it's like when you look at things around your house, inside, outside, doesn't matter where it's at, you need to be able to break it down in different areas instead of, sometimes what I sense is that we can think about all of that stuff that needs to be done, and then we can get stuck. So let's just isolate that area, that room, or that outside, just the deck, or just the garage, or just the whatever on just one sheet, one page in that notebook, and just make your notes and just kind of touch base on everything and come up with a plan that then you've got something to refer to. And it also helps prioritize it, which one should be done over others. And then always ask. Again, when we get things rolling again here at Home Repair Services, as far as our home maintenance checkups and being able to have our classroom setting open again, it's an awesome experience just to go out and learn and ask a professional question. So we invite that and can't wait till that comes back in the future. Another thing that I think is very helpful to have is tools, right? So, but we can't just go out and buy all the tools we need to do everything. But we do need some tools. So I just would suggest to get the tools you need as you need them. There are some basic tools, a hammer, a tape measure, a screwdriver, a flat screwdriver, a Phillips screwdriver, a utility knife, just some basic tools that you can use. But the thing is having a place to keep them. Probably a lot of us have a junk drawer. I have a junk drawer. There's just stuff in there. And but I also have some tool bags and a tool pail. So I think it's a good idea because we know where our keys are, we know where our phone is at, where they have a place where they belong. And I think if the tools have a place where they belong and they're organized in a way, then it's going to be easier to do that little task that needs to be addressed. because we have what we need and it's readily accessible. So I just wanted to show you a few things that, you know, you can get in one of these little tool bags like this. Here's here's another tool bag, you know, and these just have the zip top. So if you don't have a lot of space, you could just put your tools in one of these, and they're made for tools, right? So you just put your tools in there and zip it up and put it in the closet or under the bed or where in the back of the closet. And then this is another version of that, but it has pockets on the outside, and they, you know, it also zips up. These are nice little, just to kind of grab it and go do that task and then come back and put it back away. And then there's my favorite, which is a little bit bigger, is a bucket that has a liner that fits into it. And these things are very durable. I've had this one for probably, I was just thinking about that a little while ago and talking with Teresa, that I think this was, I've been with me for at least 25 years. It's gone through several buckets, but this part right here that drops down in there works really good. So as you can see, there are some, you know, a lot of different tools are in this bucket, but then also there are a lot of places to put tools on the inside. There's just as many pouches on the inside there is the outside. So they're quite handy. And I'm going to set this down just a second and then show you one more of those, and I'm going to come back to that bucket. And then there's a tray. So these trays are nice for different things. If you know, you get several of these and have them just kind of stacked up. And then what I did is I label mine. So this one is for bits and drivers, or bits and drill bits and drivers. So in here, you know, all these compartments, and you know, there are drill bits in there. There are, you know, Phillips and star drive and magnetic extensions, a lot of different stuff. Just a tray. And again, these have been with me for many, many years, so I know they're durable. And it doesn't mean you have to have just one ice and have everything in one, or you have to have many, but they're just handy. It's a good idea to have what I think is a good idea to have a screwdriver. You know, there's flat screwdriver, Phillips screwdriver, and then there's the screwdrivers that are like this, where you can take the tip out of the end of it, right? And you can just put a tip in it, and then they of a different type, and then they're usually different bits stored in the handle. Just pop that open or screw the cap off, and there are different bits in there. And then they have these little things also to hold those bits, so you can get what you need. If you had one of these and one of these, that eliminates a whole bunch of screwdrivers, right? So that's very handy. And then also for the bits are these, they're a magnetic extension. So if you wanted to put one in your cordless drill, then you would take one of these bits, just use this one as an example, and it would just go in there. This one has a coupler on it right here. You just push it, and now it's going to stay in there, unless I push that thing ahead again to take it out and then put a different one in there. Those are nice, you know, as someone who uses, you know, does some things, and you're using one, you need to drill a hole and put a screw in it. You have two drills. If you're using different things, it's nice to be able to have something you can interchange with that. So just a tool tray. And then I'll come back to this. So what tools do we need? There's no rule about that, you know. But what I think is something that's kind of on the basic side, and then you can always add to your tool collection. So, you know, we'll probably all need a tape measure, and then if we need to turn something like a nut or a bolt, then these crescent wrenches. So these are an adjustable wrench. So if you don't have a whole set of wrenches, then you can just get one of these and you can adjust it to whatever size that you need. And they come obviously in different sizes as well. So, you know, here's a 10-inch one and here's a 6-inch one. So they're quite handy. Some putty knives. go around here, and then a few various pry bars. So this is you know, the big pry bar, but then there are also miniature ones like it too. So those are nice. Be able to have one of those for, and then there are just different ones, different pry bars. So they're all handy. All of them are. So I've got over here a couple of other little screwdrivers, but then one of these real small screwdrivers. So it's got a place. So if I need it, I know where it's at. If I want to level something, I've got a little level in here, the 9-inch or the torpedo level. Yeah, rag, pens, pencils, markers, more of those driver bits. This is another one of those scratch-alls where I was talking about cleaning out that crack. This one just has a wood handle on it is all. This is a nice tool. So yeah, I'll talk about this for a minute. If you have a screen at home that's you know, it's like, which sure would be nice to replace that screen, or yeah, even with a broken window. This doesn't work for the window, but you know, the hardwares can change out screens. They can change out glass. You just have to take that frame out of there that slides up and down. Take that out, take it right to the hardware, and they have all the accessories to be able to do that. Now, maybe not every hardware, but just call them before you would go and say, hey, do you guys rescreen or change out glass? But if you wanted to do it yourself, I mean, you can do it. You can get a screen. And if you look around the edge of a screen, you'll notice there's this little rubber piece that's tucked in a groove all the way around the perimeter of that screen. So when that screen's laying down flat, this little roller thing, you just actually put this end down on it, and you roll around right over top of that rubber and push it down into that crack. So with that said, that rubber's already there. You can pull that rubber out, lay a new piece of screen across it, and just watch a video on rescreening it, because there are a couple different tips to it. But then you can push that screen, get it started, or the rubber back around it, and then you would just take this again and get this lined up right, put it down on that and roll. It just rolls across there. So it's quite handy. It's probably not something you're going to need all the time, but if you do, it's a good tool to have. If you have a hole in your screen, you can actually go to the hardware and get a little screen patch that's more of a wire screen, not a mesh. And let's say if it's 4 inches square, but then all the little wires all the way around it stick out a little bit farther. You take all those wires and fold them over, so now it's square and they're folded over, and then you just push those wires through the screen, go on the other side and fold them over, and now you just patch that hole. So just kind of a Band-Aid, but it's better than having the bugs come in. So then utility knives, there's different, you know, we could use the utility knife, and then they have these ones where they can actually use it until it's dull and snap the tip off. Razor blade scraper, and then there's the crescent wrench and different kinds of pliers. Nice to have. A pair of vice grips. And I don't know if you can see all this stuff that good. So it goes around, and on the inside, you know, it's squares, saws, little hand saw, or I'm sorry, a keyhole saw, a sanding block, a hammer, some tin snips, a lot of different stuff in there. Putty knives. This is a nice putty knife. I think everybody should have one of these. So that pail kind of makes it darken, but I think everyone should have one of these. They're very, very multi-purpose use. All right. So what would I get if I was going to start a toolbox? I would have the tape measure. You know, you want a tape measure, some pliers, a crescent wrench. So each one of those things you're going to be measured, you're going to be able to turn. Obviously, some pens, pencils, a little pry bar, the screwdrivers. Again, I think I would want to get one of those with an interchangeable tip so that you can have whatever you want. And then and then the putty knife, yeah, and then a pair of tin snips, various different kinds of tin snips. The hammer's in here. So yeah, this is having a place to put your stuff, and I think it would be helpful. So you have a list. You know, you go room to room and around the house, and you make a list, and you know, you can look some stuff up online, and you can try to follow something, but you can prioritize those things. What really is, one more thing more important than the other. Have your tools and just start tackling those little projects. Watch a few videos on different topics, whatever it is you're going to tackle. One of the things about videos is they're awesome. I mean, I even do some here at Home Repair Services. Once we couldn't have our classes anymore, we still wanted to be able to share something. And we're glad to be able to be partnered with Kent District Library, which is an ongoing thing, because we've been partnered with Kent District Library for quite a while. And actually went to and go to the library locations and hold hands-on classes in their facility. So, and that's awesome too. But just to be able to do that here, it's really good. But watch some videos. And what I always tell everybody, when you watch a video, even me myself, if I'm going to watch a video, it's probably going to be more about fixing something on my car or truck. But I'll watch several videos, but I pay attention to what's repeated in each one of those, because there can be just a lot of extra information in there. And I think those are the key things. So those are the bullet points. But here, because we can't have the classes, so we have what's called Toolbox tips. So we'll do 2-3 minute little videos on breaking down, like how to wire a light switch, how to wire an outlet, how to connect two wires together, and what size of wire nuts to use, and drywall and doorknobs and tile. And whatever the topic is, there are many of them. So if that's on our Facebook. So Toolbox tips is what that's called. So yeah, it's nice to be able to share, and I know everyone is really eager for more information. We're getting a lot of requests, people asking when we're going to do our workshops again. And I know KDL is getting a lot of requests too as well. So we're glad of that, and we're glad to be able to put some information that we hope is helpful in front of you. So, and I told Teresa earlier that I could talking all day, because there's so many different things to talk about as far as for home maintenance goes. But we kind of have to draw a line somewhere. But one of the last things I want to be able to mention to you is that again, this has to do with your heating and cooling. And it's, again, if you're using an air conditioner that you have central air, you want to make sure that these furnace filters are changed. You can't stress that enough. Again, talking about those home maintenance checkups, see many furnace filters that have been in there just a little and a long time, way too long. Okay, so you want to make sure that the furnace filter, you at least check it once I would suggest put that on your calendar, put that on your maintenance list, that the first Saturday every month or whatever works for you, that you go and check that furnace filter. Because when it needs to be changed, you might hear a month, you might hear it's good for 90 days, but there are different factors into that. It depends on how many people live in the home, how old is the home, has there been any remodeling done, have the ducts been cleaned, have the heating and cooling ducts been cleaned, is it a family of 5 and with several pets, or is it just a couple? And so you have to factor in all those things. But the thing is to go look at it at least once a month. And as long as you put it on the calendar, then that's where we, go into that routine, that maintenance. And then I always think that the one thing that's missing is not having an actual plan and bringing all this stuff together and put it in print so you have a plan. So look at it. If it looks dirty, change it, because you don't want it to get like this one I pulled out. And in all reality, this filter was actually gray to begin with. I would never buy a gray furnace filter myself, because you're not going to notice the dirt and stuff on it so much. So that's just me. Not saying anything against the filter. That's just my personal preference. I'd rather look at a clean filter and then determine from there. But you can see what happens is the debris, the stuff kind of builds up on this side, because the fan's on this side pulling to pull air. And I tell everybody, it's like driving down the road 55 miles an hour. That fan is designed to go a certain speed to push the air through your house, but it's getting resistance on the other side because stuff builds up. So it starts pulling that in. But what it also does, because it can't pull the air it needs, it slows the fan down, which that's no good on the bearings and different parts. So it's just a good idea to keep track of them, change them, keep them up. It's better, to me personally, again, I think it's better just to change the the furnace filter more frequently than getting one that's supposed to last, a long time. So some of the furnaces today, they have, different types of filters that are, they're not like this. They're static controlled or something like that. And I'm not as familiar with those. So I'm not talking about those. That would be a professional heating and cooling person would be able to give you the advice on that. But if you have those types of filters like I just showed you, I would suggest change, or at least checking it out once a month and changing it more frequently instead of letting it stay there, because most of the time it ends up just staying there too long. So that's what I have for this evening. And again, thanks so much for watching the video. I hope there was something here that was helpful for you. Again, there's so much more. We'll be sharing more in the future with Kent District Library, and then in the future when we are able to have workshops here as well. So hope to see you sometime soon, and stay safe, stay healthy. And again, thank you so much for KDL and to everyone viewing.